All right, we are now going to work on solving equations that have a variable on both sides of the equal sign. And the paper that I gave you, we're going to write down next to steps to solve. We're going to put steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. So step 1 is going to be distribute. This is just like what we have been doing when we have don't call me after midnight. The don't is distribute. Well, it's the same thing. That's still that first step, distribute. Step 2, don't call. The C means the second step is to combine like terms. So that's what you're going to do second. Okay, it's don't call, and then it's me, and this is where we're adding in move variables to one side. So move variables to one side. And when you move them to one side, you're going to use inverse operations. And we'll see that when we do some examples here in just a couple minutes. And then the fourth step is don't call me after midnight. We're going to put down, you have the add, a subtract, and the multiply and divide. And these are your steps to solve them if you have a variable on both sides. Okay, we're going to work sum together, and you're going to work sum on your own. So we're actually going to skip over on the page, and we're going to do number 2 together. Okay, so for problem 2, we have a negative 6x plus 14 equals 12 minus 8x. We're doing problem 2 together. All right, my first step says distribute. That means on either side, if I have a parentheses, I'm going to do the distributed property. Well, I don't, so I move to step 2. Step 2 says to combine like terms. Now, when it says combine like terms, it actually means that you're going to look on each side of the equal sign to see if you can combine like terms on that side. So for example, you look on the left-hand side of the equal sign and see, do you have any like terms there? Well, we don't. So then we look on the other side to see if we can combine like terms. We don't have any, so we can't. So we're going to step 3. Step 3 is to move all the variables to one side. And so, I didn't add an S there, sorry. So that means I don't want an X on this side and on that side, because remember, our whole goal is to get X isolated on one side of the equal sign. Okay, so I'm going to move my negative 8x over to this side. You could have moved the 6x over here. So you can really pick what you want to do. I think it would be easy, especially if you're using the calculator, to always move your variables to the left-hand side. Here's what I mean. I want to move this negative 8x to that side. So I'm going to do inverse operations, and I'm going to add 8x. Now, I line them up, so I need to line this up with my x term over here, like this. You're going to line the x's up. So a negative 6 plus 8 gives me a positive 2x. I bring down the plus 14. I bring down the 12, and that is going to cancel. Now guys, we're on a 2-step equation. We're on the inverse of add and subtract, and the inverse of multiply and divide. So I'm going to do the inverse of adding 14, and I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides. cancels here, and I just have 2x. And then on this side, I have 12 minus 14, which gives me a negative 2. Last step, inverse of multiplying 2 times x. So I'm going to divide by 2, and that gives me x equals a negative 1. All right, let's do problem 3 together now. Okay, problem 3 has 7k on the left-hand side and 3k minus 36. Okay, step 1, distribute. I don't have any parentheses, so I can't do the distributive. Step 2, combine like terms. That means I look on that side of the equal sign and see if I can combine those. I can't. And I look on, because there's just one term, I look over here and see if I can combine those. I can't, because that has a k and that one does not. So I'm going to go to step 3. Move variables to one side. So I'm going to move all of my k's to the left. If possible, I like to move all of the variables to the left-hand side. So it's positive, so I'm going to do the inverse, and I'm going to subtract 3k from both sides. This gives me 4k. That cancels. And I bring down, don't forget, it's a minus 36, so I'm going to bring down a negative 36. Watch your signs. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 4 because the inverse of multiplication is division. I didn't have any adding, or subtraction, so I could skip that step. That's 4 times k, and the inverse is to divide, and I get k equals a negative 9, because a negative divided by a positive is a negative. And that's your answer to problem 3. Okay, if you will now turn on the back, we're going to work a problem on the back that has some extra steps. So I want to do one for an example for you. So if you'll look on the back at problem 8. Okay, problem 8. So here we go. Problem 8 has 2 times 4w minus 1 equals a negative 10 times w minus 3 plus 4. Draw your line. All right, this is a big problem, but we're still just going to take it step by step. And remember, it's don't call me after midnight. Okay, the don't is distributive. So first we're going to do the distributive property on this side. So you're going to multiply whatever's in front times each term on the inside. So that gives me 8w minus 2 equals. Okay, now I'm going to go to the other side of the problem, and I'm going to just do the distributive because I'm on step 1. So I'm going to multiply on the negative 10 times everything on the inside. So that's going to give me a negative 10w. A negative 10 times a negative 3 is a positive 30. And then I'm going to bring down the plus 4. So I just did step 1 on both sides, the distributive. Okay, now it's time to combine like terms. All right, I'm going to look on the left-hand side. I cannot combine this term with a w with that term without a w. So let me look on the other side and see if I can combine any here. Well, I can't combine anything with that one because it has a w, but I can combine those two. So I'm just going to bring down what I cannot combine. It always helps, guys, if you keep everything lined up and nice and neat. Don't forget to bring down the negative sign. And then that's plus 34. So we just did distributive and combining like terms. Now we're going to do the third step, the M. Don't call me after midnight. That M means to move the variables to the same side of the problem. So I'm going to move this variable on the right-hand side to the left-hand side. It's a negative 10W, so I'm going to do the inverse and add 10W. If I add 10W to this side, I'm going to line it up under this like term, and I'm going to add 10W over here. This gives me 18W. Going to bring down the minus 2. Those cancel. Going to bring down the positive 34. We just did step 3, which was to move the variables to the same side. You just go through each step individually. Now we're on the inverse of add or subtract. So look at your variable. Instead of subtracting 2, we're going to add 2 to both sides. And then I'm going to bring down this positive 18W equals, and this gives me 36. Last step, the inverse of multiplication, 18 times W. The inverse is to divide by 18. And my final answer is W equals 2. And that's my answer. All right, you are now going to work some problems on your own, and you can reference back to these for help. Good luck.